How are you today? This is Aluminum Tower. I guess it just felt like coming online and delivering a message. Something compelled me to do it. So I guess I'm going to listen to that urge and just give out a message. Hopefully it resonates with someone. And if it does, you can always feel free to leave your comments in the comments box below. Not going to be any particular theme, any particular message. I'm going to be using the Wild Unknown Tarot to do the main part of the spread. It's going to be a freestyle spread. And then after that, I'm going to use the Moonology deck as well. This is the Oracle cards that will accompany the message. So, as always, order of the day is if you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. And additionally, we'll skip all the other bits. We'll just go ahead and get straight into the message because I will be shuffling these cards as we communicate here. And I've already asked the Divine One to guide and shelter this message so that whoever needs to hear it can hear it and can receive the message with love and light. So we're going to just pull a few cards just to get this story moving. And I hope you had a good weekend. I did. I had a chance to go out for a bike ride. Of course, my scarf is still on my head because I'm just feeling a bit too lazy to take it off right now. Plus, I need a haircut. So let's first write on the message. Okay, second part of the message. Third part of the collective message. Okay, so what we've got here, bottom of the deck, 4 of Cups in the reverse. This means someone who's missed out on a specific opportunity. I'll go ahead and pull a signifier so we can kind of see what this is generally about. What is this about? What is the message about? So you have the Queen of Swords. So for whoever this message resonates with, what we are looking at is a situation in which you've had to cut a lot of people out of your life. You've had to discriminate and discern against what kind of energies you're willing to accept and which energies you're willing to forego. And so the Queen of Swords is oftentimes my energy. I have strong air placements in my chart. And using whole signs, I have a stellium in Libra, which is also in the 11th house under whole signs. So that gives me quite a bit of airy energy, and Queen of Swords has always been my card in the tarot. However, for whoever's listening to this and this resonates with you, the Queen of Swords talks a lot about clearing out the clutter, being able to discriminate who you are allowing into your life, being able to see things clearly for what they are. In the traditional Rider-Waite Tarot, she's got her head above the clouds, which means that she's able to pierce the veil, see beyond the fog and the faff, basically, that accompanies difficult situations. Why is Queen of Swords the signifier? Okay. Empress. So we have the Empress card, which is the card about knowing your worth. And in doing so, when you are able to cut out the people, the places, and things that no longer serve your life, you are able to get into your own energy, and that in turn allows it to grow and to blossom. Because without planting that seed, you will never be able to get this beautiful tree here, which is the Empress. And in an essence, you can kind of see this tree here in this deck as the tree of life. It is the thing where everything is rooted, and from that root, from that value, you are able to then blossom all sorts of magnificent things. So you plant one seed, which is the desire to create a job, that then in turn grows into an empire. You decide to plant the seed in order to find love, and then you meet the woman or the man of your dreams, depending on who you go for. And these are the types of things that people have to understand, that seed blossoms because you water it and you feed it with things that will help to sustain it. And this is what you're doing now. So in order for you to get into the mode where you recognize your worth, you are finally shedding the old skin, getting rid of all of the things and the people that have corrupted or have hindered or blocked your progress. And we start by saying that because what we have as your first card, we have the Five of Swords. Five of Swords always tells us about conflict. Sometimes it can tell us about winning at all costs. Clarify the Five of Swords. Yeah. So we talk about winning at all costs, sometimes cutting out people who are very ruthless, cutthroat. It talks a lot about mental games, people using manipulation tactics, not necessarily highly favorable situations. Sometimes can be a toxic relationship, toxic coworkers, colleagues, family members, and so on. And for this, clarifying this card, you have the Fool in the reverse. And so the Fool in reverse, what we look at and what we note about the specific message is that these were things that you decided to step away from and back away from because you didn't think that the risk was worth the reward. And typically with the Fool, this is a person that's going out on the new journey. Now, this can emanate several ways. So for example, you had a lot of internal mental conflict. Is because you didn't want to take risks or chances on certain things, and this is something that you're moving away from in order for you to be able to start the new journey. If this is dealing with an external matter, this is a lot of conflict, chaos within your world, and now you're finally stepping away from it because you realize, again, the risk is not worth the reward. And so tell me more about the Fool in the reverse. So yeah, exactly. So we have two major arcanas coming out for this. You had three major arcanas that have come out for that. Along with the Fool in the reverse, we have the Justice in the upright, and then we have the Chariot in the upright as well, clarifying that Fool in the reverse. You want balance, you want reciprocity, you want an equal give and take. You want to balance out the karma that you've accumulated through this horrible situation that you've undergone. And finally, the Chariot is moving forward and making swift forward progress with whatever it is that you're trying to achieve and accomplish. So if it's about knowing your worth, if we go back to the signifier of all of this, when you finally get into the discerning eye, where you can say to yourself that I don't need this excessive chaos, drama, issues that have stemmed from whatever situation I'm in. I'm not taking the risk on this, and I want to just get back into a balanced state of being and move forward away from the situation. That is going to allow me to get back into a state of equilibrium, which is going to help me to center myself, be grounded and focused in whatever it is, so that I can plant that seed, which allows for me to see my own worth. Oftentimes, people will get embroiled in drama, in chaos, and conflict, and hurty words, and all sorts of other shit, basically, because they don't see their own worth. They would know that it's easier to just walk away from this conflict rather than engaging in it and basically siphoning off your energy. It's a very vampiric situation when people allow themselves to be taken advantage of, deal with cutthroat people, deal with office politics and colleagues that are not necessarily conducive to you and your own feelings of your, how you see yourself. And it can be very troubling when you have to deal with this because, in my personal life, whether it was, former friends, former, women that I dated, or former jobs, when that conflict began to arise, I would sometimes try to stay in the matter or stay in the situation because I wanted to prove my worth. And really, you're not proving your worth to yourself, you're proving it to someone else who doesn't want to see your worth, which is why it's important for you to know your worth and just say, you know what, I'm worthy enough to get a new job. I'm worthy enough to find a new person to love. I'm worthy enough to where I don't want, family members or friends to disrespect me or to sometimes, cut me out and be hot and cold with their energy. So, in saying that, it's important for us to go to the next step, which is the Hierophant in the reverse. So the Hierophant gives us the key to the secrets of the universe. This is orders. These are secret societies. These are teachers, gurus, and things like that. These are very important people because they teach us order and structure, which are going to be, they will allow us to make the choice that comes after the Hierophant, which is card number 6, the Lovers. Hierophant is card number 5, moving into the Lovers, which is card number 6. So, in saying that, you are now, because the Hierophant here is in the reverse, this means that you are now moving away from commitment and convention that typically would dominate your life. You would tend to go with the structures that have been placed within your life, whether that was family, large corporations, kind of rigid hierarchies, organizations, things like that. Generally, what I get from this is that you're kind of a bit tired of dealing with the structured order because you know you need to step away from it. The chaos that is coming from this is actually the result of being stuck within that hierarchical figure. And what you're now trying to do is break the cycle. So you're going Hierophant in the reverse. Let's pull a few cards. Clarify that. Clarify the Hierophant reverse. Clarify the Hierophant reverse. So, clarifying the Hierophant in the reverse, we have here Strength in the upright, and then we have Ace of Wands in the reverse. Again, we can look at this two ways. We have more energy of us holding back, enduring a situation. And I think we were just mentioning a little bit about this. I would say, like, sometimes I would endure a situation in order to prove my worth, which was not the right way to go about it. You're supposed to walk away. And what I know is that Hierophants can also teach us lessons. And the lesson that we're learning here is that when you try to hold on to something for too long, it blocks the progress of new starts within your life, which can then allow you to move forward and allow you to experience something new, something that will spark and invigorate your life, rather than allowing you to remain stuck in this specific, dynamic, whatever you want to call it. So this is now about when we are a Hierophant in the reverse, we're breaking free from the structured order. It can also be about the necessity of learning a lesson which will empower us into knowing more about the nature of the universe, more about the nature of ourselves, and more about the nature of the circumstances that surround you. So sometimes it can be hard to see what's going on in a relationship when you're embroiled within it. Sometimes people can have difficulty extricating themselves or leaving a relationship because they are still clouded by the what ifs, and I still love this person, and what if we can make this work, and is there another way to have some success with this? And it's due to the fact that you've been browbeaten to the point where you feel that you are confined or limited or restricted to this structural order. Sometimes in a work relationship, it's about my status. I want to prove my worth to the world. I want to go within the rigid structures in order, so that way I can say to myself, I have made myself a very, very, how can we say? I've made something of myself. I've become a success story. Or sometimes we'll stay in, piss poor relationships because we want to prove to people that we have a loving family. We've, built something. It's like that 10 of Pentacles or that 10 of Cups. And what we're now trying to do is to break that structure so that way we know that the possibility of a more authentic lifestyle is at hand the minute we step out of that structured order. So, a card that flew out was the Four of Cups in the reverse. Again, we saw that card recently, and what I noticed about it, it's come back out, and now it's trying to tell us again. Are we really missing an opportunity, or are we letting go of something that was that wasn't really an opportunity to begin with? Typically, when you have rats in these particular these videos, or these sorry, not videos, but cards, and in this video we talk about the Four of Cups. Rats typically talk about things that plague your mind, things that steal from you, things that cause needless worry, excessive problems. They eat away at the structures of a house. So they make the little rat walls, and then you get like the little Tom and Jerry scenario if you've got a cat. And they infest things, they steal from you. And that's kind of how you felt when you were in this dynamic. Every interaction that you had with this person, or with this job, or with this family member, whatever you want to call it, narcissist, whatever, they began to steal from you bit by bit. And now you're saying no more. Not only is it kind of like this, where you outwardly refuse it, but you're just letting the situation pass you by. You're extricating yourself from the dynamic. You're moving away from it, letting it become a missed opportunity. That is the lesson that you're trying to learn by becoming the Hierophant in the reverse, and saying to yourself, I don't need to impose this structured order onto me, onto my life, because it's not the authentic self that I need to become. Now, we have the moon, and it came out on its side like this. So what I can say is that you're now trying to navigate this situation using your intuition and your intuitive faculties, your connection with the divine, that is going to allow you to see things for what they are, gain the insights and the intuition, and to learn that lesson that the Hierophant wants to give. Because the moon is, in essence, tied to the High Priestess, which is what the Hierophant is the consort of. Or rather, the other way around. The High Priestess is the consort of the Hierophant, or at least the comparative component. Clarify the moon. Clarify the moon. Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. Something's telling me to put that up right. Pull out one more card. One. Deck's starting to fight me. Okay, great. We've got here. So, when you align yourself, when you're in with your intuition and navigate this dark void, of course, when you trust your intuitive faculties to get through the problematic situations that you face within your life, these are the things that will start to take place. Things will begin to make more sense. You'll begin to feel happier. You'll begin to feel more joy. The Sun card, bringing that clarity. You'll then have the King of Pentacles. You'll become more stable and grounded, and you'll be able to master your physical domain by taking control. Not necessarily worrying so much about the external, but getting your own foundation sorted out by getting your money, your finances right, getting your new home, your new place of living, new friend circles, all of those things that are going to be important. And then finally, once you begin to use your intuition, where the universe is guiding you through these challenges, then that is when you start to step into that Nine of Cups. And with the Nine of Cups, you're going to see yourself in a completely new energy. You're going to be able to feel completely content with yourself. Allow yourself to feel as if you are a whole person, a unique, complete individual. And that is the stuff of substance when you try to get into your feelings of self-worth. Again, with Queen of Swords, which was our initial signifier, we talk a lot about being able to cut through the bullshit and get into an energy and get into a space where we can see things for how they are. We can analyze things so that we understand where they are and how they have constructed themselves today. And you'll no longer be in this energy here, which is the Five of Pentacles in the upright. And this will give you the clarity that you need in order to face whatever obstacles that have been put your way by externalities, or even yourself, your internal self, self-doubts, things that are of a devil nature in the sense that they are restrictive and they also cause you not to be able to move on. That's what the tower is for, to kick all of that down. And in essence, this Hierophant in the reverse is kind of like it's kind of like a tower. You even have the lightning bolt here. So, moving forward, I'll pull one card from your Moonology deck. If you can see this says it's time to release negativity. Full moon in Scorpio. Things come to a cumulative head, and they're finally now getting you in the full intensity of releasing and purging and purifying that which no longer serves a purpose within your life. And with this card, this kind of ties up everything that we just talked about. In order to become your full authentic self, you must, in essence, you must shed your skin. Invertebrates like the scorpion, spider, well, also you have vertebrates like snake, shed their skin so that way they can release the old. Things like parasites that may be feeding on them, like ticks or anything, they can get rid of all of them. And then they can finally emerge as a new creature, allowing themselves to be fully rejuvenated, fully in touch with themselves, being much healthier, getting rid of all of the toxicities that have kind of plagued their life up to date. So that's how those animals kind of work with it. And to be fair with what you've got here, this fully encompasses the energy that you have. You are basically like a serpent. You're like a scorpion, spider, whatnot, weaving your own destiny. When you have these types of invertebrates, you have 8 legs. 8 is the number of the self. And this is now taking shape within your life now. When you begin to shed that skin, when you begin to shed that exoskeleton, that is when you can see your true worth. So release the dead weight that is from, trying to hold you back or hinder your progress. And that will in turn allow you to get into this lovely energy that you've got here, which is full out abundance that you can cultivate by tending to your own garden. And maybe that's what I'll title this. Maybe this is The Empress Tends to Her Own Garden. I'm going to leave it there. I think we've chatted enough. Well, it's been about 23 minutes of me babbling on. But yeah, this Aluminum Tarot, it's a pleasure to read for you today. If you like what you see here, again, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. And additionally, feel free to leave a financial contribution. Other than that, I just appreciate your time and energy spent on listening to this message delivered to the audiences. Hopefully it resonates with someone, or maybe there's a lesson people can learn from this based on what has come out for you. So I'm going to leave it there. Again, thanks so much. Until next time, love and light.